Oh, yeah, pretty good for us. That's right. Hey guys, welcome to the Dual Threat Podcast. We finally got Jacoby on board, along with Ryan. Miss Matt tonight had to do some family things. Respect to that. We got week one for you guys review. Gonna get up to week two as we lock in for the second week college football. But let's do a week one review right quick before we get into that. As it was a crazy week one, here's some of the bigger games. Probably the biggest noise of the week. Florida State beating Bama 31-17. Um, massive shocking performance. We'll get to that second. The LSU defeating Clemson 17-10. Prime time. The game of the week, Ohio State, Texas, defensive slugfest, 14-7, going to the Buckeyes. On Sunday, South Carolina Gamecocks took care of Virginia Tech, 24-11. Miami and Notre Dame, classic Sunday night game. Miami prevails 24-21. Then Monday night, Bill Belichick's debut did not go nowhere near as planned, as TCU takes the victory 48-14. So Jacoby, it's your first official time on the podcast. What's your thoughts on week one? Let's start the Clemson game, obviously, as you are a Clemson fan.
Yeah, nice to be back. But yeah, starting with that Clemson game, it's kind of a typical performance with us the past couple of years. You get hyped up and then just don't execute. You want to blame Cade, or Cade takes the blame, but at the same time, I don't think he got put in positions. He was overthrowing some, and then the play calling, once again I don't know what we're doing, but first that, I mean, defensively we did pretty well. I thought there's only so much you can do when you stay on the field half the game, but LSU came out ready. They backed up all the crap they were talking before the game, so hats off to them. But I think one of the most interesting, besides Florida State doing what they did to Bama, which was just wrecked them, but they're definitely my most impressive win of the weekend. But you look at what Matt Patricia did with Ohio State against Arch. He just Patricia had him confused. He just, with these quarterbacks that are at a college level, with him being a three-time Super Bowl coach and everything else, he just light years ahead of these quarterbacks right now, I believe. So,
All right.
then
How
there's
about
a
you, Ryan?
couple
Any quick
games
thought?
there.
Well, if we're starting with the LSU Clemson, I mean, first of all, Dabo needs to throw that challenge flag. I mean, I can think of a touchdown that he probably could have had if he had dared to throw that challenge flag, let alone a couple of contested catches that I think would have gone in his favor. Every time he had an opportunity, he had 3 timeouts. I don't know why. That was honestly, in my mind, the biggest faux pas in that game. Both teams, I mean, their defenses showed up. We can say that for sure. Clemson held a stout defensive line, kept the run game from getting too many yards on Saturday. Was LSU, they came with the blitz and they exposed Clemson's offensive line. They did. Corner blitz, safety blitz, couldn't get picked up. That's something that Clemson's definitely going to have to work on. I think LSU came out looking pretty dang good. Nussmeier made some great throws. I mean, great game overall. Very tightly contested. Just a few things, literally game of inches, like they say. A few things go slightly one way or the other for Clemson, they win that game. Same thing, few things go in the right way for LSU. LSU turns that into a 2-point or a 2-score game. So, I mean, it was not the top 10 matchup we expected, but it was definitely a clash of solid defensive play.
And I will say, just add a little bit, just as an observer watching all these games over the last 4 days. This is a reminder, especially like for a casual audience that don't fully understand college football, there's no preseason in college football. So it's a lot of action off the rail, other than like when you practice against each other in scrimmages. So usually week 1, week 2, first couple weeks of the season, they're working out bugs. And you also don't know how these teams are going to look. I think this is classic with Florida State and Alabama. Like, of all the ways that game could win, no one thought that Florida State was going to be dominant on both sides of the line of scrimmage. Like, there's no analyst that will tell you different. It could be a multitude of reasons, but it was shocking. Clemson, LSU. I think Matt did hit on the head, and it was also my assumption. Someone party over there in Hawaii, Jacob?
I don't know if that's a tsunami warning or they're testing.
That's just the music of the islands, man.
If you listen to this on the screen, don't be alarmed, guys. Or later on the podcast, I probably have to edit that out. Ryan, let's start with you. What was the most impressive performance from week 1?
You know what? I know I'm being a homer. I don't care, though. I think the most impressive performance was Gus Malzahn's play calling. If you watch the breakdowns, the way that Florida State ran the sweep against Alabama, any time that they saw the defense was biting on one direction or one player when the sweep came up, Malzahn adjusted who the X was on the sweep, and Bama bit every time. That's just good attention to detail. That is good player selection. That is solid offensive coaching. In my mind, the performance of the week has to go to Gus Malzahn running that Florida State offense, because Alabama, yes, they made some big stops. They got some turnovers, but when it came to the every down execution, they got exposed.
All right, Jacob, what's your most impressive performance from week 1? If Jacob's there.
We might have lost them. Well, until he gets back, I do want to bring up another point. I was talking about the Clemson LSU game, and I was praising the defense. But one thing I do have to give to Clemson is these glancing tackles are not gonna do it this season. I did not see a lot of wrapping up. I saw a lot of leaping shoulder tackles, the kind of things where if you don't hit him square where you need to, he's not going to go down. And that's not something I expect from a Dabo Swinney coach team. Basics are essential when Dabo coaches. So I was very surprised to see a lot of missing components as far as just traditional basic football play. And until Jacob gets back, I guess we'll keep running through the rest of the games.
Yeah, let me chime in on Matt's right quick. I got some email from Matt. Matt's most impressive performance this week was actually, I'm bugging. Did I not have that saved? All right, well, we're gonna come back to Matt's as I find it. I think it was Jacob. Right. But I will say, I'll chime in. Rice. I know this is probably left field for most people, but Scott Abel, who was the coach at Davidson at 2 level. If you remember Chip Kelly's pretty much power spread offense, power run game back when he started with Oregon. That's pretty much what Rice runs right now, and it's pretty impressive. And Rice got the upset over Louisiana because of it. So I'm gonna give the shout out to Rice. I believe Matt's most impressive performance was South Florida beating Boise.
I think you're right. Yeah, which that was an impressive performance.
Yeah, that was definitely impressive.
Boise State, they took a leap. They accepted an offer to play down in Tampa. That usually they're out of conference games stay to the West Coast. They play Oregon State, Washington State. They play a lot of teams like that. So they finally made the jump, traveled all the way to Tampa, Florida, and didn't look good for them. Definitely didn't look like a top 25 team. This is coming from a South Florida team that played well in their conference last year, but got blown out relatively in out of conference play. And yet they showed up on Thursday. Showed up on Thursday, and they took a team that that last year had a Heisman potential in Ashton Genty. Maybe we're seeing that Boise State's offense does not run without a powerful run game.
I will chime in, especially on the defense with Boise. A lot of the guys either graduated, went to the draft, or transferred. Like I know a couple of linebackers, like Simpson, who was one of their best linebackers. He's playing North Carolina now. So some of their receivers, they're expecting to get back to replace the ones they lost that graduated. I think Prince is at Southern Cal. And there's one more I just heard. I can't remember off my head right now. So keep that in mind, Boise. Boise was, at the time, the highest ranked group of 5 team. In the new poll, there's no group of 5 teams currently ranked, so that does open the door for teams like James Madison, Lane, Memphis, to maybe get that spot over the coming weeks. You got your back, Jacob? No tsunami over there, right?
Yeah, we're good. I don't know what. I mean, it definitely was the siren, but we'll see what the actual warning was here in a second.
All right. Well, we'll let you get to it. What's your what was your most impressive performance of week 1?
I definitely got to go with Ryan at Florida State. I mean, what I saw, Castellan.
Oh, lost Jacob again.
Lost him again. All right.
All right.
The running game was.
Oh, there he is.
There he goes. Okay.
Does this thing work?
We hear you. We don't see you though. But you can talk it out. Like as you feel. Oh, maybe not. I will rain check on what Matt's were. I think I got that confused. His most impressive performance was whoever chose Lee Corso's picks.
That's right. He did say
go 6-6. So
hey, I'm gonna give it to Coach Corso, man. All right, I think he went out with a bang. I really like to think that he made those picks himself. He bet, especially Florida State, because he picked them with enthusiasm. Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast. There was also props to ESPN and props to Ohio State, give them a proper send-off.
Absolutely.
Stuff that was pretty awesome. That was the highest rated college game day ever. So
it was Lee Corso's last day, man. You got to show up. You got to show up.
Yeah, show up.
You love college football. You had to watch that.
All right. Well, let's pivot a little bit. Let's go the opposite way. So might just be me and you, Ryan. 4-8 guys, always holding down.
Yeah,
fair enough. What was your most disappointing performance from week 1?
Most disappointing, I definitely have to say, came from Arch Manning. I mean, I don't think he even hit 100 yards passing. I know he had that big touchdown, and maybe that got him a little bit closer. But last I remember, he had a total of 68 yards, I think, passing for an entire game against Ohio State. And that's just not what you expect from somebody who's being touted as a generational talent, a guy who was the number 1 recruit in his recruiting class, who has stepped in for Quentin Ewers a couple of times last year, somebody who has experience, especially playing in the SEC last year against top defenses, tough play calling, big blitzes. And for whatever reason, he looked flat-footed. One thing I did notice about Arch is that he seemed to avoid his reads in general. He just went straight to the first read every time, and that's where he delivered the ball. But, of course, your first read's not always going to be the open one, especially because it's planned around that. Defense is planned that first read, or what they anticipate the first read to be, to have the most coverage. And yet here he was just darting straight to it every time, whether it was off to the side on a curl route, coming across on a slant. And it's like Ohio State anticipated that. So every time, or not every time, but dang, most of that game, they were prepared. They were prepared for the passing game.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll give Arch a little slack. Look, Ohio State defense is elite. It's probably a top 3, top 5 defense at worst. So we come in, it was on the road. So like with the pressure of being the number 1 team and that last name that you have, I'll cut you a little slack for your first game, but I give a little fault to Sarkisian because that game plan was pretty weak, man. I don't know what I don't know what they had, but Matt Patricia, he's a DC for a reason coming from the NFL. He threw some confusing looks at him, and he wasn't ready for it to expose, a new quarterback. And he was the only one. Julian Sand didn't look as impressive either, so he just came out with the W. Somebody had to win.
No, Sand didn't look impressive, but you know what? His receivers did.
Yeah.
Both quarterbacks made a lot of low throws around the knee and really down to the shin kind of throws. But the difference is Sand's receivers were able to haul those in and even gain some yards after receiving catches like that. Whereas Texas's wide receivers, whether it was them running blind routes or them not anticipating their quarterback's desperation to get the ball out in a hurry, they weren't making the same catches.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Jacob, you back? Are you frozen?
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
He's frozen. You see, get him off the screen until he figures out what's going on. Because I'll jump in. Matt's most disappointing was Boise State losing 34-7 to South Florida. We'll touch base on that a little bit, so I'm not going to go too much into it. My most disappointing performance, it's not fully his fault, but is the way he went about in the offseason. And first game looked horrible. Nico, what was going on, buddy? Utah was a dark horse pick for me for the Big 12, and they looked amazing, especially on both sides of the ball. But Nico, UCLA lost, was it 43-10?
Yeah.
At home.
Yeah.
And now I will say that Nico was pressured. His complaint was like he wanted more offensive talent when he was at Tennessee. And he was pressured, I believe, 60% on all his throws. He finished with like 17 yards, but most of that was running for his life for it. So Nico, it's kind of like just a reminder that, like, hey man, you chase that bag, it might not always be great. Be appreciative of it. And don't forget, Tennessee didn't win their game against Syracuse on Friday for it. Let's carry on. So, based on our preseason expectations, what team changed your preseason expectation, whether they were good or bad, Ryan?
Ooh, well, you know what? Definitely, I may have picked them to win the game last week, but Auburn was definitely a team that changed my expectations of them. Coming into the season, I would have probably picked Auburn to be a 5-7, maybe 7-5 at best team. And for the life of me, I cannot remember his name right now. Robertson. No, Jackson Arnold. The quarterback at Auburn, man, he looked like he had been ready since last year for that performance. He ran that read option to perfection. Just about every time that it was a draw handoff, he had that defense. He had their number, and he was able to either pull the ball just in time and give himself a good 10, 11-yard carry, or he was able to utilize the draw and get a good push from the offensive line and let the running back carry the ball. So I'd definitely say one team that has already made me second guess is going to be the Auburn Tiger.
All right. That is fair. I will say, from my perspective, we're going to stick to the theme of Boise State. Coming off a playoff appearance, and that's probably the favorite for the group of five to make it. I know it's a road game and come across the country, but no one was expecting 34-7. Madison did not look impressive at all. There was no run game. It was big plays getting put on the defense. It just wasn't like a expectation of Boise State. I could see them losing the game, but I didn't see that happening.
No,
it was kind of.
I can't even remember the last time Boise State was blown out by a non-Power 4 conference.
Yeah,
let alone blown out in general. That is not a common sight to see Boise State get just flummoxed on the field.
Right. All right, you back with Jacoby? You hear us? All right.
He moved. He's closer. He's getting closer.
Good there. Baby steps. We're working on it.
I guess Hawaii doesn't have the kind of Wi-Fi you get here in the continental.
Hey, man, they got a lot of wind being on the island. It's it's fair. Give Matt's take. I'll just read verbatim. Preseason change for me has to be Kansas State from a Big 12 contender to losing in Dublin and scoring with 42 seconds left to beat North Dakota at home. Unranked FCS opponent. Giving them a big scare after a loss makes me think they aren't contenders for the Big 12 anymore. So, and I felt like it's fair because I was keeping an eye on that score and I was like, whoa.
I was worried for Kansas State. I was worried on their behalf.
I was like, what was going on over there? Stuff. So like, I'm not sure. And that's not even the fault of Avery Johnson. That was the defense, which is the surprising side.
Hey, you know what? Coach Klinsman's old in-state rival. They know how to play him. So he's down at Kansas State now after being at North Dakota State. Those North Dakota team, they were ready. They knew what to prepare for.
They came ready, man.
They'd seen them a lot.
All right. Probably have to come back for Jacoby. So we're gonna go. Ryan, what's your player or team of the week?
So gotta go home here. My player of the week has to be Danzy at Florida State. Whether he was taking the jet sweep or whether he was pulling in passes over on the sideline, he made big plays. Had a 7-yard breakaway off the sweep for a touchdown. Had a couple of contested catches against Alabama, who's known to be physical, and he came down with the ball just about every time. I mean, Castellanos only passed 9 times, but Danzy had at least 4 of those, and he hauled them in. To face a defense like Alabama is known to have, and to really have a dominant performance, I think it was like 160 over total yards and 2 touchdowns. He's going to go ahead and he's going to get my player of the week. He might not have had the best stats of any player, but he had probably the best performance considering who he was lined up against.
And that's very fair, man. I was actually surprised by him. That was a nice surprise to see.
Oh yeah,
as a fellow from Florida State representing, definitely too.
Represent. That's right.
We out there. Currently 14th in the AP poll.
But I mean, since Jacoby's not here, I'll also say if you watch the Ole Miss game, be careful of Daquan White because that's a big boy. I mean, 6'5", 240, but every time he got his hands on the ball, he made yards after the catch. Didn't matter if he had 2-3 defenders on him. He was barreling through. He was making the most out of every opportunity. He got a couple of touchdowns too. So, yeah, Danzy's going to be my absolute player of the week last week. But Daquan White out of Ole Miss, that's probably my consolation.
All right. That's Jacoby Dispers again.
Damn it. We can't keep him.
Yeah, he tried.
That's it. We just from now on, it's only on the mainland. Are we letting people work on this podcast?
Work on the podcast, man. You gotta be stateside.
Gotta be stateside for the vibes, baby.
For the vibes. For me, I would say I give my time. I would say hold on, butcher his name. I'm gonna go Jaron Sagbutelli from Cal. True freshman quarterback, Ron Rivera. There's a mass exodus coming for that program. A power struggle going on there, evidently. They lost some key players, but you almost in the group chat. 20 for 30, 234 yards, 3 touchdowns as they get the win over Oregon State. It looked impressive, man. We see how it goes for the remainder of the season, but it was more than I was expecting for a team. I was expecting to be definitely at the bottom of the ACC.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think they might have a little bit of a pulse to them to give them. So definitely look forward to that. Matt's team of the week, player of the week. Let's see if I can look at the notes. He has Haynes King, Georgia Tech, 19 carries for 156 yards, 3 touchdowns, also 143 touchdowns through the 143 yards through the air. Matt's our resident Colorado hater, so he saw opportune moment and ran with it.
He ran with it, just like Georgia Tech ran with that ball.
Just Georgia Tech ran the ball, man. Power through. That was a good game, though. That was a very competitive game between.
And I'll give it to Matt. I had notes on Georgia Tech too. I mean, that quadruple threat of Rain, King, Steubens, and Haynes, they run. It's not the triple option like Georgia Tech used to run, but it is still an option offense. And all four of those guys, I mean, Rain, Steubens, and Haynes are all running backs, but they were all factors in the passing game, which just goes to show this new coach for Georgia Tech bringing new breath into their offense is something they probably needed. And King just seems like the right guy to run it. He did have a fantastic game. Colorado came out better than I expected to. I honestly kind of thought that, let's face it, they weren't known for defense last year, but they came up with some good stops. They had some sacks. They were getting pressure on the quarterback. But Georgia Tech, they made good adjustments, and they were able to take advantage of Colorado's eagerness to blitz and made them pay. When Colorado thought they were going to run, they held that ball, and King got it downfield. When they were expecting the pass on a few third and long plays, King either took it himself or handed off to one of his three running backs, and they picked up, I believe they are 80% conversion on third down. So,
oh man, kill it.
I mean, you're going to win. If you convert the third down, you're going to win the game.
You're going to win the game.
Georgia Tech controlled the ball. They converted on third down. That's why they won.
There is, guys. That's our week 1 review. We're glad college football is back. Let's move on to week 2. Not as crazy of a slate compared to week 1, but it still is pretty impressive. Let me get this out and slide down and see if I can share this screen real quick.
Week 2 always slows down. Like you got a bunch of teams that played their big opener. Now they're looking for that easy win against Division II or FCS teams. Week 2 usually slows down, but every once in a while you're going to get some good matchups, and I know we got some on the list here coming up.
Most definitely. And a lot of that's there you go. Why is everything working against me today?
But hey, before we move on to week 2, let's talk about South Carolina and Virginia Tech. I mean, early first half, that was a good contested game. Virginia Tech looked like they were going to match up with South Carolina. Sellers, he was having some issues throwing over the middle. He was having issues, on those short passes, overthrowing a bunch of people. It's a inconsistency he had last week. The guy can't hit a 7-yard slant, but man, he was dropping 35 dimes on the run. He was hitting them in stride. So if he could just pull that cannon back a little bit and put some touch on that ball, South Carolina is going to be real scary.
Yeah, I think the surprising thing, and some of this I got to kind of keep in mind with at least the opponent, because Virginia Tech's defense was actually pretty decent.
They played well. I didn't expect them to. I did.
They played well. Offensively, they got some things to figure out. I thought Jones would be way better than he was. But I will say Sellers definitely looked the part out. He's going to have to develop reading the defense better, especially when you start playing like really good SEC competition. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, solid runner, solid size of QB, but if you want to advance to the next level and like get your name called in the first round and take South Carolina to places, the Gamecocks fan base hope to get to, you're going to need him to be in the key performance in all areas. But
yeah,
it looked good though. It was great.
Before we move on, I got to remind Coach Pry of Virginia Tech, re-kicks don't go well. I don't know what the statistic is, but it's something like 7 out of 10 re-kicks go poorly. And what did Virginia Tech do? They had a punt. It would have really gone in their favor. They decided to re-kick, hoping for a little extra yardage, and boom. Punt return for a touchdown, man. I mean, I'm not a coach, but the statistics say do not re-kick the ball.
So this was awesome too for Beamer Bowl, given that Frank Beamer was there. Son was coaching the Gamecocks. That
great
was
to
awesome.
see Beamer Bowl, absolutely.
Definitely great to see it. All right, well, we're going to keep moving forward to week 2. We're going to start, like I said, the slate's not as good, but if you're a college football diehard, you know there are some prime games this week. And we're starting with one that doesn't seem like really 2 basketball schools. That are actually pretty solid at football. We got Illinois traveling over to Durham to take on the Dukies. Illinois is a 2.5-point favorite. The over-under is 50.5. All right, what's your thoughts on the lineup? Let's to the first question. You think either one of these teams can be a contender, serious playoff threat, or even championship contender in the conference?
Absolutely. I mean, Illinois, we saw the season they had last year. Unfortunately, they beat the Gamecocks in the bowl game last year. I know there's going to be some argument, how fair they played. Coach Bielma was really using those injury soccer style fall downs, but Illinois, if they can repeat this year, if they can win 10 games again, especially before the playoff selection, they'll be in it. I mean, Indiana made an argument last year. Nobody saw that coming. So Illinois, who we know has Altmaier, a quarterback with some experience under his belt. You've got a defensive-minded coach in Bielma, who probably has planned around a lot of these big offenses that you're expecting to see in Penn State and geez, you know what? I have to take that back because Penn State said that after the Ohio State performance, Penn State might be the only true offense up in the Big Ten this year. I don't know. But Illinois definitely has a chance. And I'm not gonna count Duke out either. Yes, Miami had a great showing. Florida State, they showed up. Georgia Tech, they played well. These are all teams that we expected could or at least had an opportunity to show up in the ACC championship. But Manny Diaz is no pushover. He knows the ACC. He coached at Miami before. He's played against these teams. And with Mensah, quarterback, who really showed that he does have an arm. When the offensive line is holding up for him and the run game's working, that Mensah can put that ball on a dime and get it to these receivers. Barcade, I think, had 5 receptions for over 100 yards. Andrew Castle, I think, is Aaron Castle, the running back. He had catches as well, but he was also a factor in the run game. I would not be surprised if one of these two teams in this matchup made the playoffs this year. And that's crazy. Like you said, these are basketball schools, man. Who thought we'd be talking about Illinois and Duke showing up to the college football playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. And Duke's I'll put Duke with how Louisville was in 2023. The schedule just works in their favor. I mean, they still have to play Clemson. They still have to play, I believe, Miami too. To check their schedule, but I think they have a solid defense. I think Mensah's an upgrade over Malik Murphy by far at quarterback, which gives them an opportunity with the offense to throw the ball down the field. And they still won 8 games last year with Murphy at the helm. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mensah is actually an improvement from Malik Murphy last year. While you were talking, I brought up Duke's schedule. No, they don't got Miami. So honestly, they're, they have matchups against NC State, Syracuse, and Georgia Tech that, if they stumble, that might put them out of the runnings. But if they clear that slate, this upcoming Illinois, Tulane, NC State, Syracuse, if they get through that, they're really, they still have Georgia Tech near the end of the year, but their only true competition, if they start off 5-0 or 6-0, is Clemson. And then they finished the season against Virginia, North Carolina, and Wake Forest. Teams that those are all rivalry games. Those are all games that Duke's going to come prepared for. So I'm not going to throw my reputation on saying Duke's going 10-2 and making it to the playoffs, but it's not impossible.
Okay, well, with that, who thinks which quarterback thinks going to show up more for this team, Mensa or Altmaier?
I definitely think Mensah is going to show up more. Nothing against Altmaier. He definitely has more experience. But we've seen that Altmaier struggles, especially against DB-heavy defensive plays. And that's one of Duke may not have the strongest front seven, but those back four, or when they play in the 2-2-6 or the 3-2-5, Duke's defensive backs are talented. And they showed that. I mean, yes, who'd they play? Elon, yeah, but they showed that they can blitz from the corner or the safety position. They can load up on one side on the defensive back and guide the quarterback's eyes away, opening up pass rush for the defensive line and an arguably very weak linebacker lineup. But still, if you can misdirect your opponent the right way, I mean, football is just as much mental as it is physical.
Oh, definitely that. Who has the coaching edge?
So I do want to give it to Manny Diaz because, like I said, he's coached in the ACC before, but this is an ACC matchup. And Bielema, we know what he did at Wisconsin. He's done very well at Illinois. I hope he does not forget that he's still playing with Coach Lovie Smith's recruits and doesn't pat himself on the back too hard. But if you're going to make me pick between the two of these guys who I have a lot of respect for, I will probably pick Coach Bielema. I'd say he's got the edge on the coaching factor there. So Illinois's got the advantage.
All right. Matt's in agreement with you with that. His line or his verbatim words are, "I don't trust Manny Diaz as a head coach." His words, those are not mine. I actually don't think he's that bad. I think he's actually been pretty impressive.
I don't either. I think it's just one more coach who got, just like Al Golden, a coach who was at a Miami situation that was poor, bum. And these guys were under how many suspensions for how many years, and they kept asking coaches to revive the program while they're under all kinds of scrutiny and all kinds of punishments, you know. So what do you expect when you're limited as a coach? You can only do with what you're given. And honestly, I think Manny Diaz's 4 years there were better than a lot of other coaches would have done in that same situation.
That's fair enough. We're going to move on to our next game. Kind of a big rivalry game in the state of Texas. We got Baylor coming off a loss to Auburn. They're going to travel over to Dallas to take on SMU. SMU's the 3.5-point favorite. You know, they were a playoff team last year. ACC championship runner-up. Over under 65.5. Ryan, do you think Baylor can bounce back from that loss from Auburn?
I absolutely do, because if you look at their comeback in the second half against a team like Auburn, who was rolling on all fronts as far as the offense goes, Sam Robertson stepped up, threw for 3 touchdowns in the second half, brought it to a 2-point game. So Baylor absolutely has the offensive firepower to make a comeback. It all depends on that defense. And SMU is no slouch when it comes to offensive playmaking and trick plays, especially with the coach down there at SMU. They do run a bunch of trick plays. But with Kendall Jennings at quarterback, not that I don't think he's a bad quarterback by any means, but we've seen him before, and we see that he can make some mental errors. If Baylor can opportunize on some of those misdirections or even if they throw a couple blitzes at Jennings' way, he might get ruffled, and Baylor can absolutely win this game.
I think it's was it Sawyer Robinson? They're for 400 yards against Auburn.
Yeah, 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. I know.
3 touchdowns. Like, he looked good. It's just the defense wasn't.
Defense could not hold Auburn. Yeah, I mean, Robertson was not to blame in that game, not one bit. He was the only saving grace that they had. They even allowed them to have a shot at winning that game at all. Yeah, I'm high on Robertson. He looked composed. 27 for 48. That's 50%. That's not the completion rate you want. But Auburn's defensive backs were playing heavy coverage over those wide receivers. And at least Cole Wilson. Cole Wilson, he made some great contested plays. But you need more than that. You need the defense to be able to make stops. You need them not to convert big third downs, which is not what happened against Auburn. Auburn converted a lot of third and longs, and that's not what you want to see out of your defense.
Oh, definitely agreed. Do you think this next question I have is, can SMU repeat their success from last year, starting with Baylor in this rivalry game?
Same. I do think SMU, this is a great game, great rivalry game. In Texas rivals. I'm praising Baylor, but that does not mean that I do not think that SMU is also lacking the capability. I think if SMU does lose this one against Baylor, they still have a makeup game in 2 weeks against TCU. If they can win that, I think that cancels it out. But if you look at their ACC schedule, I mean, they have the opportunity. Other than Miami and Clemson, they have a relatively easy ACC schedule. They could definitely go nearly perfect in the ACC, be right back where they were last year in the ACC championship. I totally think SMU is capable.
Yeah, it was a little more difficult. They got Miami and Clemson this year.
Mm-hmm.
So in the regular season, so in Louisville, so it's not as much of a cakewalk as it was the previous season. I guess I'm gonna get Matt's thoughts on this right quick before I ask you who you think has the edge in this game. Matt's thoughts are that SMU has the advantage with Jennings and Baylor's terrible run defense, which was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. And SMU does like to run the ball, especially with a mobile quarterback. What's your edge on this game, Ryan, as far as how you think it's going to go? A point spread, the over-under?
If you know what, if you really want to know, I think Baylor has the edge in this one. Okay. SMU, they ran over East Texas A&M. Okay, great, but Baylor, as I've already said, 2-point loss at Auburn or hosting Auburn. Baylor definitely played tougher competition. I think they're a little more aware of what they need to do in this season, and they got a chip on their shoulder. They played hard. They thundered back as best they could, and they still lost. So I think Baylor's coming with a little bit of anger, whereas SMU, they might be a little more lax. They came off a big win against the FCS opponent. So when it comes to the edge, I'm giving it to Baylor because of attitude. I think Baylor's going to come swinging.
I'm probably back on this too. I think it's definitely be a close game. It's not going to be a blowout. I'll be surprised if it's a blowout. I think it's be a pretty high scoring game. But if I had to put money on it, my money would probably be on the over. I know 65.5 seems like a large number, but I can see this game being 38-35.
Hey, Auburn and Baylor beat that last week. So
yeah,
when you have two high potent offenses like you do in SMU and Baylor, yeah, I'd take that over in a heartbeat. Absolutely. 65.5. Shoot, I expect a 35-34 game minimum. I wouldn't be surprised if both teams hit 40 points.
Yeah, that's like an old Big 12 kind of vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It feels like an old Big 12 matchup. It does, absolutely.
Right,
plus, rivalry game, man. Rivalry game.
It's rivalry game,
the unexpected.
And it's big, man. I'm trying to tell you, in the state of Texas, man. Like, I know everybody thinks it's Texas and Texas A&M. I promise you, Baylor, SMU, TCU, Texas A&M, their bases are just as strong.
Oh yeah, that triangle, man, of the SMU, Baylor, TCU, they're still passionate. They still show up. They still want to see good Texas football. And those are all three big offensive-minded teams.
Teams.
So like you said, no, expect big things. Yeah, this could be a high-flying offensive affair.
All right. Well, we're going to carry over to Big 10, Big 12 in-state matchup as we have Iowa traveling over in the Ames to take on Iowa State. Iowa State's a 2.5-point favorite. Over under is, I guess it was 46.5 when I typed this, but it's actually gone down to 41.5. Which is also in the Cyhawk rivalry over there in the corn country of Iowa.
Playing in the cornfields.
The cornfields.
I gotta say, what used to be one of my favorite rivalry games to watch has become one of my least favorite, just because it's just defense when these two teams play. Man, yeah. We know Iowa is not gonna be burning any barns with their offensive playability. It all is defense when it comes to Coach Ferenz. But Iowa State, man, Iowa State's shown this year that their defense can play with the big boys. I really think that. Coach Scott Campbell has built one heck of a program down there. A school that 15 years ago was considered one of the worst in Power 5 is now a regular now has regular expectations of approaching the playoff contention at Iowa State with the Cyclones, and that's all Matt Campbell. I do expect it to be another defensive slugfest. If you're hoping for high offensive octane drives, this is not the game for you. I anticipate a lot of 3rd and 2s, 4 and 1s in this game, as both teams like to go for it on first down, especially with both of them have power run games. That's what they do. But the difference is.
Here's a question for you before you continue. Yeah. So, which quarterback is going to be able to, between Gronkowski or
Gronowski,
Gronowski and Rocco Beck? Who thinks?
And that's just what I was getting to. The difference between Gronowski and Beck is night and day. Gronowski is not expected to throw the ball a lot, and most of them are short yardage just to break up the monotony of the run game. Whereas Beck is a legitimate threat when he's got that ball in his hands. Completion. I mean, if you look at him right now, he's completing 95% of his passes. What is that, man? Like, yeah. And they played 2 games already against Kansas State and for the life of me, I can't remember who they played last week, but yeah, South Dakota. Yeah. But I mean, through 2 games, you're still at 95% completion. Jeez. Yes, Iowa's going to definitely drop that percentage a little bit because they play very well on defense. Yeah. But Beck is the real X factor here because he is not just a game manager. He is a guy who can deliver the ball in dire situations and make plays with his arm. And Gronowski, I just do not think has that ability.
That's fair enough. Let's give Matt quick thoughts. Iowa will never have offense. Next question. I was like, oh, man.
But for 3 years, he's not wrong. 3 years. How many times they broken 300 yards in the last 3 years? Once, yeah, I think.
Maybe once. You know? It's a head scratcher. So now they got to figure something out.
And Xavier Williams is a hard dude to stop. 11 carries, he had 122 yards. He can blow a hole in your defense, and he can take it all the way. He's got power and speed. But if you can't misdirect the defense a little bit with your quarterback play, you can only run the ball so many times before they stack it against you.
But here's a side note about this game that could, just keep in mind. You know that Iowa has won 6 straight games at Iowa State?
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah. So Iowa's been pretty dominant on the road in this game. But definitely I will say, actually, I'll hold that for as we get to best bets. I want to spoil it for it. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the game of the weekend. By far, it's the only ranked matchup um, there is. We have the Big Ten SEC matchup between the Wolverines and the Sooners. Uh, Bryce Underwood, number one recruit, coming out of the 2024 class, 25 class. Uh, what do you think he could do against Brent Venables' Oklahoma defense to try to get a W for Michigan?
Ooh, well, let's see. First of all, Michigan was not the did not have the offensive capability last year that we would have expected out of the returning national champ. And Underwood, he played well. He played well last. No, that was week 0, I think, against New Mexico.
That was last week.
That was last week. Okay. Yeah, I mean, he played well against New Mexico. But it's New Mexico. That's not a great litmus test. Not that Oklahoma's had one either. But I think if Underwood can play as well and pass as consistently as he did against New Mexico, that makes that game easy because their offense heavily is dominated by the run game. So Underwood, there's not as much pressure on his shoulders as there might be Mateer at Oklahoma. So, if I were him, I'd be pretty calm going into this game. I know most of my big plays are going to come from draw plays, maybe a couple reads, RPO. So
yeah, definitely RPO. A lot of maybe a couple of design QB runs here and there.
So you let him get comfortable, sitting there behind the O-line, get a few runs going off, and if he can pass as beautifully as he did against New Mexico, just making quick, easy throws, shoot, I mean, you've got Matt Klein, the tight end, who he really favors early. Tight ends are always a good, easy pitch and catch. So, you know what? I think Underwood definitely has the ability to beat Oklahoma and Brent Venables' defense. But Brent Venables, we saw it at Clemson. He knows how to strategize against good quarterbacks and good offenses. So,
well, here's a follow up. How important is it for Brent? Obviously, we know the pressure that he's facing at Oklahoma by that fan base to get back on page and get back to contending for conference titles in the playoff. So, how is it important for him to get off to a good start against essentially one of your peers, teams you're expecting to see, or at least a quality talent before you get to your SEC schedule?
Is this for Underwood?
Brent Venables.
For Brent Venables, this is big. Venables needs this. His seat's already a little hot from the last 2 seasons, which I think is a bit unfair. But if he can secure a win against a team like Michigan, a playoff hopeful, I mean, that automatically turns that burner down underneath him and probably eases up his mind a little bit, makes it easier to plan for the following week. Brent Venables would benefit greatly from a win against Michigan, and he's got every opportunity to do it. It's at home. You're going to have a loud crowd ready for a top 25 matchup against a recent national champion. If Oklahoma pulls off this win, Venables comes out smelling like roses, and all of a sudden we're talking about Oklahoma as one of the playoff hopefuls.
And I almost think this is almost a must-win for him.
It almost is. I don't think he'd get fired from losing to Michigan, but it would leave a lot less room for error through the rest of the season.
Right. I mean, that error's going to be hard. Like that last, if you check online right now, that last 7 games, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, all those games straight, 3 of them on the road. And the season at LSU, who's looking like they could be probably the best team in the conference, along with.
We're not even talking about Missouri, who won 10 games last year and is a threat in the SEC this year, I think. So I mean, you've got right now they've got 7 straight games against ranked opponents because I do expect Missouri will be ranked by then. So Jeez, yeah. If you're Oklahoma, you want to win and want to win early.
Really, gotta get it done. Let me see what Matt's thoughts on this before we move on. His thoughts: Bryce Underwood's first real test against a good defense. Not sure Bryce will be ready. Going against Venables and his Oklahoma defense on the road. Brent Venables' seat is very warm, but I think he has to do at least 9 wins, or they're going to get him out of there. That's Matt's perspective, but he thinks Oklahoma defense will get this jump with Mateer getting the lead. So shout out to Matty Ice out there with that.
Well, you know what? So here's a question for Matt, and here's a question for Oklahoma fans in general. If you get rid of Venables, who's next? Like, who do you think you can honestly pull from another program that's making the playoffs, especially if Venables doesn't do well this year and doesn't have another good recruiting class? Like, who are you going to bring in? It's a thin market out there right now.
I mean, it really depends on your honest answer with what Oklahoma fans think of their program. Like, they've been such a contender for the better part of like 10 years or last couple of decades.
Two decades, really.
Two decades. So, but that was as a Big 12 team. Now you're in and out. You're playing 7-8 games a year against teams that can beat you or can match up with you. So it's like it's not, and even like the mid-tier teams, the South Carolinas of the world, I'm not calling them mid, but like they're improved. But like
your Arkansas, your Auburn, your Missouri.
Yeah. Like it's like that's no sleeping. You can't. There's no sleeping win for you. So like this is what you signed up for.
Shoot, even Vanderbilt won 9 games last year, man.
Last year, so it's a deeper conference. I just it's the pressure. They have the ability to do it, and a lot of it sometimes just luck. Make sure all your players can stay healthy and nothing goes wrong. They have to be improved. I think they have a way better QB play than they have with Jackson Arnold. We didn't look that bad over at Auburn either. So like it might just been a bad fit. Sometimes.
I absolutely agree with you there. Jackson Arnold looked like a dynamo at Auburn last week. So yeah, it could have just been the offense wasn't for him over at Oklahoma, or is Auburn seeing something with Hugh Freeze that Venables couldn't because he's not an offensive-minded coach?
Yeah. That's fair enough. Well, we're in our last segment. We're going to go to pushing the hour. So I said let's go through it. We're going to have 5 plays for you. We call these our best bets. Just me and Ryan. So we're going to go through ours. Then I'll put all 4 of us on at the end to kind of go through Matt's and Jacob's also. But Ryan, I will let you take center stage and go over your bets. Have at it.
First off, I got NC State over University of Virginia. Look, honestly, I already think 2.5 is too little. I think NC State's already shown that they're playing way better. Virginia, they did not have the outing that anybody would have expected last week. And there was a little hope with Virginia last week, now it's a second year. I mean, yeah, it was Coastal. And they showed out, but they made a lot of errors, man. They made a lot of errors that you don't want. The only reason they got away with it was because it was Coastal. So now you're coming in against Dave Dorian, guy who has proven he can win in the ACC. I got to take NC State. UConn versus Q's. I'd love to take Q's, but UConn's kept it tight in most of their matches ever since Mora got up there. So I just couldn't pick Syracuse outright. However, I believe the over is 56. I don't see either of these offenses combining points.
There's no other 58 to help you out a little bit.
58, yes. I mean, I feel even better. Look, nothing against these teams. They're both decent. It's not like they're going to be barnstormers this year, but offensively talented they are not. So I expect to fall well under the 58 mark. And then you got South Florida. They're playing Florida this week. And yeah, Florida looked good, but that was against Long Island University, a team that I think has had a football program for all of 2 years.
Yeah.
So sure, you need to win that if you're Florida, But as we mentioned earlier, South Florida came out and popped Boise State in the mouth. They're relatively staying nearby at home, and they're only going to Gainesville, just 2 hours up the road. If they can show up, they could definitely cover. I don't know if they'll get the upset, but I do not expect Florida to blow out the South Florida team I saw last week by 18 points. Then West Virginia versus Ohio. Yeah, Ohio played Rutgers really well, but Rutgers is probably the worst team in the Big Ten. So West Virginia is an easy selection right there with the dominant performance they had. And I can't believe I'm going to say it, but yeah, I think with all the errors that Arizona State had going for them last week, I mean, they did not play a pretty game. That was against Northern Arizona. Yes, they won. They won big, but there were too many penalties, and the O-line just looked confused. Way too many sacks on a quarterback with a top 15 team against an FCS opponent. So Mississippi State's dominant solid performance against Southern Miss last week. I would not be surprised if Mississippi State made the cover against ASU this week.
All right. There it is. We got Ryan's picks. Will Ryan go 5-0? He went 3-2 last week. No, actually 2-1.
We're going to eat W's.
We eat W's. Jameis style. All right. Well, let me go through mine before we get going. For Nick's picks, the best picks out the group of four of us by far. We're going to start up in Dallas. Give me Baylor +3. I think they can cover in this game. I think it's going to be a high score. I think this is going to come down to probably last-minute touchdown or last second field goal. Give me the Bears. Give me Kansas against Missouri. I think that's a game that not too many people are talking about, but that's actually going to be that's a big rivalry.
Old school rivalry. Old Big 12 rivalry.
But I think if Jaden Daniels can not Daniels. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Jalen Smith.
Can stay healthy for Kansas. I think they can put up points. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I know Missouri's defense is pretty solid, and the offense could have some questions, but I think Kansas can at least cover. I'm not sure they're going to outright win. San Diego State against Washington State +1.5. I think San Diego State in year 2 with their coach is going to put up some points this year. I think they're going to be most improved. I think they're going to be actually a threat in the Mountain West, especially with Boise looking the way they look.
AJ is an old Florida State commit, so
yeah, stuff. AJ Hire going to be balling, man. More power to you in San Diego. Vandy +1.5 against Virginia Tech. I just saw that Virginia Tech's offense. I don't believe in it. I believe Vandy is going to take advantage. I think this game's going to be low scores. Definitely look for the under also with us. Defense is part or running the ball is probably the focus. Then give me the Dukies, man, against the Illini. I think the ACC needs competition. I do believe in Manny Diaz. I know Matt doesn't. I think they can go in there and handle. I don't know if they can handle the business, but they definitely cover. I think this is going to be like a 27-24 game. Could be wrong there, obviously. But those are Nick's picks. I'm going to put the whole board up so we can all see. For everybody, go over Matt's and Jacob's right quick. For Matt, he had Iowa State under 41.5. Missouri, so we're fighting on the Missouri-Kansas game. He has Missouri -6 over Kansas. He has Florida covering against USF, so he's fighting Ryan. He's fighting Ryan on that game.
Yeah, he is, and he's going to lose.
He's in agreement with Vandy +1.5 against Virginia Tech with me, and he's fighting me on the SMU -3 versus Baylor. So Matt's trying to just not agree with us. I guess he's sulking over that Clemson loss.
And what do you expect from the villain of the podcast,
Right? Number one hater, man.
Number one hater. He doesn't cheer for anybody. He just wants the other team to lose.
Other team to lose. So you can brag about it. Jacob, picks. Syracuse -7 over UConn. Michigan State -3.5 over BC. James Madison to cover against Louisville. That's a
wow. Okay.
Yeah. I'm a
All
believer too. I looked at the game. I couldn't pick them because I think James Madison's sneaky, but I'm not sure if they
James Madison is sneaky, man. That Sun Belt Conference showed that they were the best they were the best of the group of 5 last year. And hey, James Madison, they've won 13. They've gone undefeated before. They could do it again.
Can do it again. Playoff contender in the group of 5, definitely, especially the boys that lost. Jacob's taking the over 41.5. That's ballsy on that game. Iowa State. That's ballsy. I saw that. I was like,
how Jacoby hasn't learned to never take the over on an Iowa game will baffle me for the rest of this week.
It's baffling. And SMU 2.5 over Baylor. Must have got it early. I've been seeing 3 all day, but those are the best picks, best bets picks for the week. Definitely. Well, guys, appreciate everyone that's watching. If you're listening to this on the podcast, please give us a follow. Please subscribe as we build up this pod. We're going to be here every Tuesday. Check out. Once again, shout out to Florida State. Represent our nose because the Clemson guys ain't here, so this is a Florida State pod.
The Florida State podcast. We don't cheer for orange in this venue here. Okay.
Yeah,
orange is a no-go.
No Halloween. We won't even do that holiday. That's how bad it is. But once again, guys, also later tonight, I'm streaming my fantasy football draft live. So anyone's going to stay tuned to that, please hop in with me. That would be on YouTube, Twitch, and X. Once again, for Ryan, this is your boy Nappy Nick. This is the Dual Threat Podcast. See ya.
Peace.